Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today, this is going to be a Bindery reading vlog, Fall 2024 edition. If you've clicked on this video and you're not totally sure what Bindery is, Bindery Books is a new independent publishing company that pairs with debut authors and bookish influencers together, and these bookish influencers will be called tastemakers, and who will build a community to share and engage with the publishing process. So it's kind of like forms as well as like a membership if they do not want to publish books, because there are tastemakers and bookish influencers who use Bindery as a way of like kind of like a Patreon kind of thing, where they have a membership, you have access to certain behind the scenes content, but also there are ones who right away want to start publishing books. Authors would earn twice the industry standard earnings, and if they were to do traditional publishing, of course, they'll have better packaging, so that's like cover design, formatting, editing, all the things, and receive a larger reach from large bookish influencers. So it's a way to like bring the bookish community more to the publishing process, and hopefully debut authors get a chance to pretty much have a better like start into their career. Now, as far as the tastemakers or these bookish influencers, they can create an exclusive community and earn money from royalties, subscription revenue, and affiliate revenue. So yes, there's the royalties from like the books that they publish from their imprints, the subscription revenue, because again, it's like a membership, kind of like a Patreon thing with revenue from monthly payments. And also there's affiliate revenue from if they have any affiliate links as well. Now, some quick disclaimers though. I am not affiliated at all with Bindery. I am not a tastemaker myself. I'm not part of the Bindery process at all. I'm simply just someone who is a reader who likes to try something new. And especially if you're going to have an entirely new publishing company, especially an independent one, I want to give them a shot and just see for myself if this is something that I really should be, really looking forward into reading for them, especially in the quality of the books, the kind of books that they publish, especially from the various tastemakers, and see if these tastemakers and we're going to have similar tastes or not. You know, just like with any other publishing company, from whether it's big traditional publisher, small independent publishers, or even self-published authors. I just got to see for myself if we're going to match or not. Now, in the video description down below, I will be linking down below Bindery's website. So if you have more questions on the actual process of Bindery, I do recommend just really going through their website and just exploring through what they already have there, because I don't really know everything here as far as Bindery. So this is as much as I am understanding of Bindery. But I also will link 2 videos down below as well from Bindery's tastemakers, and maybe you're familiar with these tastemakers specifically. First off, I will be putting down below Jenny from This Story Ain't Over's video when she announced that she's going to be part of Bindery, and then she's launching her own publishing imprint, which, by the way, her first book from her imprint is actually coming out next August, so August 2025. So definitely maybe keep an eye on that if that's something you're interested in. And then also Marinez from My Name is Marinez, I will also link down below a video where she's talking about like, is Bindery kind of like a pyramid scheme, since there's been speculation like regarding the money aspects and how it all really works from Bindery. She also has a publishing imprint with a book that's actually also coming out next year, that's coming out in like June 2025, so maybe something else as well, something to look forward to if you're interested. So I'll link both of those videos and their website down below, so that if any of y'all are curious, y'all can check out more about Bindery, maybe even follow some tastemakers and influencers already. You don't even have to be in their paid levels. You can just be there just to follow for free, because they do also have some free content as well, here and there, depending on the tastemaker, but it's at least there. It's an option for that as well, if you're curious. So I am calling this vlog like a Fall 2024 edition, because 4 books specifically came out on October 15th, 2024, and I did get ARCs for 3 out of the 4 books. I did pre-order one of the books, so I do pretty much have all 4 of the books, and well, not like physically, because I only got like 3 ARCs and 1 physically, but y'all know the idea. I have access to these books. And so yeah, we're gonna pretty much start off with a book that I started reading, and then we'll get more into it. I'm not going to talk too much in the beginning, at least, on like what all these books are about. Just keep watching the video. There will be timestamps in the video description, hopefully in the video itself, so that y'all will know if there's a particular book you're interested in more than others. So feel free to hop around the video if that's what you care for. But yes, let's actually get started with book number 1. So our first book we're going to talk about is House of Frank by Kay Sinclair. This is a queer fantasy standalone. It's like a cozy fantasy. And then the tastemaker for this book is Jason Headley. I'm not really familiar with this bookish influencer, like, at all. I've never seen this person before. I've never followed their content. And their imprint is EZ Cat Press. I wanted to check this book out in particular because I was kind of hoping that maybe this could be a book that's in the cozy fantasy maybe subgenre that I might be interested in, but I want to give y'all a quick synopsis just to give y'all an idea what this book is about. House of Frank is a warm and hopeful story of a lonely witch consumed by grief who discovers a whimsical cast of characters in a magical arboretum and the healing power of found family. So that's also another thing too, is that it's this found family, and I do like the found family trope. And also I do like reading something that's something cozy but also deals with a heavy topic. And I do think that this is doing a pretty good job of that. So I have already started reading House of Frank. I do have my e-arc right here, and I'm nearly halfway through. So as far as some initial thoughts, I do indeed like the writing. I do find the characters to be endearing. So the main character is Saika, and I do find her endearing, although she can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. But I think it makes sense that she's, mostly because of like the fact that she has been pretty much procrastinating on how to move on really from the death of her sister. And then as far as the details of the death is not, so far anyways, there's no graphic depiction of the death itself, but just to let y'all know, there is mentions, again, it's grief, but also mentions of death and stuff, especially familial death. And I also do like that the other cast of characters, like within this house that belongs to Frank, which is Frank is pretty much like a mythical beast, pretty much. I'm not totally sure what kind of mythical beast, but like, think of like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, you know, like from like the Disney movie. Think like kind of like that. That's kind of what Frank looks like. At least that's how I'm picturing him. Just go with me on this one, okay? So yeah, I do find this to be very, very interesting. This is definitely a lot more character driven for sure. So if you're more of a character driven reader, this will be the book for you. For me, it's a toss-up between character-driven, plot-driven, mixture of two. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a plot-driven, character-driven kind of reader. I really do not know. But I do find the parts of this story that is character-driven to be least interesting, although I do wish that the book had a little bit more plot. And so I'm hoping that when I get to the second half of this novel, the plot moves a little bit quicker. So I do find this a little bit slow, to be honest. But it is still nice, though. It is neat, cozy. I do like and how there are enough stakes in the story, not just about the Saika delaying the process of grief by planting her sister's ashes in his arboretum place that turns into like an actual magical tree. That's how the arboretum works within this house of Frank's house. That's actually by the house. But yeah, I do find this story to be quite interesting. It's very unique. I've never read a story like this before, personally. But yeah, I do want to continue on reading with this book. I hope that, again, the plot gets a little bit more, just a little bit more oomph. But again, that's kind of the point of a cozy fantasy. It's not supposed to have too heavy of stakes. But I do think there is a particular mystery regarding Saika and her magical powers that you do find also at this point in the story, around this halfway point, that I'm just like, okay, I want to learn more about this. That, like, I do find that kind of divulge, that kind of information has been kind of slow, at least there's particular details, but there is still enough crumbs in there at least to at least keep me at least a little bit fed and interested. But so far, that's pretty much all I really have about House of Frank right now. I just think that this is actually a really good start as like a debut novel. This is a pretty good debut novel so far. So yeah, I'm never going to come back here. For y'all, it's going to be very soon, but for me, it's going to be maybe a while. But I will come back here with my final thoughts on House of Frank. Salutations, y'all. Today is Christmas Day, actually, 2024. I'm recording at like nearly 2:30 in the morning, and I have finally finished reading. Okay, there's the glare. I have finally finished reading House of Frank by Kate Sinclair. I do have to say I'm actually kind of disappointed. Not gonna lie. Let me just put a book cover right here. So, yeah, I just finished it. And I was kind of sitting, even just reading through it, I was just like, why am I gonna be reading this book? Because as I continued on the story, the more I'm kind of realizing something about the book is just not fully clicking with me. And it took me a long time to really realize that, because like I've been kind of going in and out with this book and prioritizing other reads, so I didn't really thought about it before. But then I kind of forgot that like I really did struggle in the very beginning of the book. Like I really struggled to even like want to like keep reading it. I even did consider DNFing it, but I kind of thought that I was just in a weird reading slump kind of thing. But then I finished the book and I'm like, no, this was definitely a book problem, honestly. Because something about the book is just not working for me. Like, I do think I don't know. Honestly, I'm having trouble right now because I've seen other people really love this and really enjoy this and got really emotional of this, especially with like bookish mutuals and stuff. They've really loved this. However, for me, I didn't quite feel as moved throughout the entire story, if that makes sense. Like, I can't remember what I said beforehand, but because it's been a few days now, but this book really is a story about death, grief, and loss, and like the way that people deal with grief in more maybe not so great ways than others. More so not so great ways of dealing with that. Especially with delaying things. I was like, yeah, delaying things for a good long minute. Which like I'm not really gonna fully judge because like grief, the way that people handle grief is very much different. But what I can say though is that since Saika definitely dragged her feet in planting the remains, the ashes of her sister, I do find like I'm kind of like waiting for that point in the story to drop because there's not much besides that I'm actively waiting for. Like I didn't really feel immersed in the story because honestly the world building is not very much intricate, which I guess is fine because it is meant to be like a cozy fantasy. It's not trying to be that, but also I needed a little bit more at least some sort of like descriptions, like physical descriptions of the characters, because honestly sometimes I have a general idea, but like I feel like I'm getting broad brushstrokes of what these characters looks like and not more infinite details. Like even the world building is like broad brushstrokes, not much actual detail, which as an avid fantasy reader I'm not really a fan of that particular way of going about world building. Now, depending on who you are, depending on your mood, this could be just be fine. You know, like you don't want something too heady, too much overwhelming with you with world building. If that's the thing you want to read or whatever your mood, then sure, read this book. But I wasn't quite a fan with the writing style either because it did feel quite repetitive at parts. Sometimes we repeat the same kind of sentiment even within the chapter, and I'm just like, okay, I get it. You know, like, I got it. I don't need you to repeat this to me over and over again. That's very irritating to me. But also, I need to remind myself that this is also a debut novel as well. I have also looked in the author's bio, like, when I reached the end of the E-arc, and the author has written, like, short stories, but this is, like, the author's first full-fledged novel. So I will give it a little bit of grace, but also it's still debut novel tendencies that I still don't like, but even these tendencies are not exclusive to debut novels. I don't know why I call it that, but for my own sanity, just fall with me here. I'm calling debut novel tendencies, okay? Just let me call it what it is. My video, my channel, whatever. And then as far as the characters themselves, because since the plot is pretty much not very strong here, well, let's look at characters. Saika was a hard sell at the beginning, not gonna lie. I have found myself quite irritated with her because of her attitude, honestly. She did just grow on me a little bit over time because she starts to bond more with these side characters, but these side characters in themselves are not fully fleshed out. I do find myself a little bit more interested in like Olivie or like Ollie. I found her more interesting, and Frank was for sure like a really interesting character. Hence, the title is named House of Frank, so Frank in himself has to be an interesting character. And I did find him to be interesting. However, as time went on, there were certain aspects of these characters that they were doing things, and they decided to withhold information regarding the other side characters. And they're supposed to be like, we love each other, found family kind of thing, but they're withholding information. And I personally do not like that. I don't like it when main characters or a certain group of characters decide to withhold information from other characters whom that they claim that they care a lot about. Or they may be fallen, or maybe have some sort of romantic inclination towards other characters as well. I don't like this. I don't like that, you know? It's giving like, oh, you lied to me, and it just, no. I really don't like this whole withholding information to keep everyone safe or for the better. It's like bullshit. It's like, why are we going around this thing? And also I found the pacing of the kind of for like the reader ourselves to even understand the context of what's going on, like regarding Saika and her, what's going on with her and her magic, and regarding the house and Frank. I'm like, I don't particularly like the pacing of it because again, there's not much else about the story to be reading for because I'm not as invested with these characters. So I'm like, I need a little bit more here. And I'm constantly like, okay, I need more. And finally when I'm getting snippets of it, I'm like, okay, at least I'm a little bit now interested. I'm finally like awake again. I felt I was like falling asleep on this book, but oh, now I'm awake. And I'm like, okay, well, I need more, you know? So that's what intrigued me to continue on reading it. It's really about plot and, like, getting some reveals. Less so the characters in and of themselves. Which, honestly, I find that to be quite sad, actually. Especially with a story that deals with death, grief, and loss. And how that drives these characters a lot. In fact, a lot of the characters, like, that help with Frank actually have lost someone. Or lost people. And I like the way that this author wanted to deal with such a topic. And I do find the way that she went about it to be good, but not great. Like, I don't know, I have definitely have read books that deal with this kind of topic a little bit better than this, whether it's speculative or not. But again, this is the author's first novel, so I'm giving a little bit of grace here, but also I have to recognize the fact that I've seen a little bit better, and definitely more to my personal reading taste. But also just on a craft level, I just feel like there's parts of it that's not as fully descriptive, there's parts of it that's like weird, funky pacing, and then we get to the ending of the book, and I'm just kind of like, this is where we went off with. This is how we end the book. I didn't hate the ending, but I wasn't quite a big fan of it either. There's just aspects of it I'm just like, I didn't particularly love. I'm just like, like, it's intriguing enough. Like, I wouldn't mind reading another book by this author in the future if they write, like, a sophomore novel, but it won't be something that I'm not gonna be super excited to read from. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be overly excited about it, unfortunately, but might be curious enough if I feel like it. So overall, this one was a solid enough book. It's not great, sort of. It's above average, I guess. I give it like 3 stars. Like, I liked it, but I recognized I have personal issues with the book on a craft level, and it's also, I recognize there are parts of this novel that it's definitely more of a me thing as a reader and not something that, like, pertains to the book itself, and I can recognize why other people would really enjoy this book. So, do I recommend this book? I do recommend it for the folks who are interested in who are more cozy, avid, like, cozy fantasy readers. And especially if you don't want anything that's bogged down on world building. This one's a little bit more simpler, so at least there's something with that. And also, there is indeed a sapphic romance in here. It's not like a overarching thing because this is not a fantasy romance at all. So it doesn't bog down on the plot as much, or even with character development. It's there, so yeah. And I think it's solid enough. I mean, I'm not particularly in love with it, but like I fine with it. I'm like, you didn't bother me, and that's good. Honestly, you didn't bother me, so we'll take that. So yeah, I do recommend it, but like, it's just that this book is just not for me. I recommend it to other people who are like more interested in cozy fantasy. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all of my thoughts on House of Frank by Kane Sinclair. Not the greatest start to this vlog, unfortunately, but it's a start. It's fine so far. Anyways, 1 down, 3 more to go, and I shall come to you all who knows when. I'll be in some point in the next book I read. We'll talk then about initial thoughts and things. So yeah, let's talk later. Alright, salutations y'all. It is January 5th, 2025. And I'm here to update this vlog because it's been a while, honestly. And I'm here to say that I am DNFing Inferno's Heir by Tiffany Wong. So, Inferno's Heir is a first book in a young adult fantasy duology where we're following this princess who wants to pretty much change her fate. And in order to do that, to not like be wedded and stuff because she doesn't like her older half-brother who is in line for the throne. She decides to see if she can like infiltrate the rebel group and get the crown and earn their trust, and hopefully she can turn them in so that she can get a different kind of like future for herself. Which I'm like, sure, cool, that's fine. And then honestly, I only made it to like, again, I do have an e-arc. This is actually a finished copy. I personally purchased a copy on Pango for cheap. And unfortunately, this is just a miss. So, yeah. What chapter did I left off? I literally got to the beginning of chapter 4. So, literally 30 pages into the book if I were to read this physically. And yeah, this was just a miss. I don't think the book is bad. It's not a bad book. It's just a book that's not really for me, unfortunately. And since I read House of Frank and I was already pretty disappointed with that one, I don't really see myself pushing through to read this one. You know what I mean? And now that I am in 2025, I am going to be a lot more ruthless regarding arcs, whether they work for me or not. Because I do think to myself, like, as long as I really think like I'm requesting all these arcs and stuff, seeing like, I think I'm the reader for this book. I just realized, like, you know what? No, I'm not the reader at all. I'm just not the target audience here. I think this is a book meant for readers who are new into young adult fantasy, because I've kind of seen these kind of tropes before. I've seen these themes explored before, and I've seen them better paced, written, and more intriguing than this. Both in young adult fantasy and adult fantasy. So I'm not really missing much with this one, unfortunately. And I will be missing the sequel, which is Tempest Queen, I think? Yeah. That's the name of the sequel, and I'm not intrigued enough to continue on with this series. Okay, I'm just not. It's predictable. I've seen this stuff happen before. I do not need to read Inferno's Heir. I'm over it. I don't need it. But again, if you're interested in it, you can check it out. I don't know when the audiobook will be available, because they are working on audiobook rights, so there is audiobook rights. I think there's an audiobook in progress for the book. I just know that I won't be checking out the audiobook because Natalie Naudus is narrating the audiobook for Inferno's Heir, and I am not checking that out. So that's rather unfortunate. So yeah, this is another, this one's definitely a hard miss on this one. So yeah, I don't think Gaultier Books, I don't know about that imprint as far as the kind of books that they're interested in publishing. I don't know, but so far, not going in a great start, and neither for this vlog either. I really need some wins, y'all. So I did start the only other arc I have, so at least y'all will be able to get my thoughts, at least for y'all, much sooner than for me, because for me it's gonna be a little bit later, but I will be able to at least share my thoughts a little bit later on that book, assuming I read a little bit more further into it. But yeah, pretty much check out for some more thoughts on that book. Salutations, y'all. It is Monday, January 6, 2025. It is literally nearly 4 a.m. So not much later since the previous update. But I am here to update y'all on Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris. This one is a queer historical fantasy romance where we're following the daughter of Dracula's killer, who is a researcher in this society, and she's working on a case with the daughter of the criminal mastermind and nemesis of Sherlock Holmes. So we have Samantha Harker, daughter of Dracula's killer, and Helena Moriarty, who is the daughter of the criminal mastermind and nemesis of Sherlock Holmes. So if you're familiar with Dracula and Sherlock Holmes, then you're familiar with their fathers and their roles in those stories. So this book is supposed to be like a mixture between the two, and also supposed to be like mystery and like a queer historical fantasy romance, And I'm like, okay, sure, let's see how this goes. This was definitely one of the ones that I was a little bit worried if I would enjoy or not. And unfortunately, I was kind of right, but not for the reasons that I thought. First off, it was actually kind of easy for me to actually read. I actually found the prose to be at least interesting enough for me to continue reading. My problem was the actual craft itself, like the actual characters and like their work, which is not much. I mean, I only stopped at like 18%, so again, not very far, but like there were things about the characters that not really make any sense to me. And also actually the world building doesn't quite make sense to me either. Actually, I don't quite fully understand the world regarding the society, to be honest, and how it works. It's very bare bones, to be honest. Also, I don't fully understand like Samantha, because like for some reason Samantha has like this power where like she can see like visions and stuff regarding the monsters thanks to her mother, but I kind of don't quite understand how it necessarily works and why it will work. Helena Moriarty, she's a different case. I don't know about her. I mean, she's meant to be a secretive thing, so whatever. I also did find Sam to be a little bit naive. She definitely seems a little bit sheltered, and I don't know, it's just really weird that she's understanding certain logical things, but because of like book, which I'm like, I feel like it's common. There's just certain things I'm like, I feel like this is common sense, and yet you're getting this from a book. I'm just like, odd. But I think actually the one thing for sure that I'm just like, okay, this is gonna be really irritating, and I already had to deal with a book that had poor pacing, and this book does also have poor pacing, but not in the sense of like House of Frank where it's slow. This one's a little bit fast. It was a little bit fast in regarding the plot, but it's also a little bit fast in romance,
Because I'm just kind of like, okay, you kind of just met. I'm like, I guess you could be attracted to her already, sure. But I don't know. I'm just not quite really buying this connection that Sam is feeling with Helena or anything, or why she's even feeling like she should trust her or anything. I'm just like, really? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just like, no. And again, I'm not here to be reading more mediocre, shitty books. Okay, I'm starting off 2025 strong, and in order for me to start off this year strong, I also gotta be ruthless as far as mediocre reads, and I'm not allowing this mediocre read. Okay, I'm just not. The writing wise, I probably could have continued on reading, but honestly, it's pretty mediocre, and I'm like, I'm not here for it. Okay, I am not here for it. I was already disappointed with House of Frank. I'm not here for another mediocre read that's gonna take me so long to get through. Okay, I'm just done. So yeah, this is actually the third book now for this vlog. So yeah, now we're done with that one. It's a DNF. So yeah, not a lot to talk about, honestly, since House of Frank, unfortunately. There is still one more book, and it's the one book that I literally pre-ordered. So hopefully this is a win. I'm hoping that this last final book is a win, because I need a win. I do hope to read the fourth and final book for this vlog soon, so we can wrap this vlog up as well. So yeah, we shall see though. Update though later, was hopefully with some initial thoughts, and hopefully promising initial thoughts.
Alright, salutations, y'all. It is Monday, March 3rd, and I'm sorry, I did not even start reading In the Sky Bled by S. Hati. I, right now, don't really have interest in reading it right now. I still want to read it, so I do own it physically at home. I'm not home right now, but I really just don't want to read it right now, and I don't want to have this vlog still be continuing going at all, so instead, I'm just gonna close out this vlog today. I still will have my thoughts on In the Sky Bled, with like just a singular book review video whenever I feel inclined to start it. So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So as far as in conclusion for this vlog, I will have to say that mixed results for sure on all these books. I've only finished reading one. The other two I DNF'd. So not the greatest, honestly, and even the one I did finish reading, I didn't really love it. So yeah, not the greatest so far as a start, but I still will remain optimistic, because it's just the first 4 that were published, so I'm curious about any new imprints with some different concepts. Also for these existing imprints that I've already tried or even want to try in the future, I'm curious to see what other books they will acquire in the near future. So I will remain optimistic, but this was kind of a fail, not gonna lie. But thanks y'all for watching this video. If you have watched it all the way through, like the video if you like it, comment down below if any of y'all have read these books at all, subscribe if you have not already, and you made this far into the video and not sure what to say, but we'll leave an emoji to let me know you're here. Leave me a house emoji for House of Frank, leave me a fire emoji for Inferno's Heir, leave me a black heart emoji for Strange Beasts, and then leave me a mountain emoji for In the Sky Bled. But anyways, yeah, thank you all again for coming onto this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!